an HR professional at Nike said to me, like, Nike's always going to do what's right for Nike. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I thought about it. I was like, but that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's a self-preserving organism. Your company's a self-preserving organism, so you have to do what's right for the company.
Hello, and if this is the first time you're listening to It Takes a Village, thank you and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you are returning and you are coming back, thank you for also being here, rocking with me. And I have a couple of requests before we even start this episode. Number one, if you are listening to this episode and you love it, please share it with a friend. Organic reach is the best reach. And if you feel inclined, which I hope you do, please leave us a written review on Apple. And that helps boost the show organically. It's a great way for you to give back to the show that gives to you. And number three, the newsletter. We have a newsletter. Head over to ittakesavillagepod.com and scroll down to the bottom, fill out the information, and we will send you information. You can also check out more details and more show notes. Everything that you want to know and are interested in about the show is updated there. Okay, let's get into this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to It Takes a Village. This is a show that connects self-growth with the power of community. I'm your host, Delina, and today we are speaking with Sanja Komljenovic. She's the founder, CEO, and executive creative director of ONA Creative. ONA actually means her, which I love, because not only is she the founder of this incredible advertising agency and production company, they also really focus on women's rights, representation for marginalized communities, and culturally resonant work. So marketing is so interesting. In fact, recently I was just watching on my Instagram, it came up, Gary Vaynerchuk was talking and he was like, you guys need to understand that marketing is really important when it comes to a business. And it's more important, if not equally important, to sales. He goes, when you sell all the time, which is something I'm very good at, this is why it hit for me. He was like, when you sell, you are going towards the person, going towards the product. But if you are marketing, the people that you are looking to find are coming to you, okay? So while it seems difficult to put together a full marketing strategy, like what are my brand colors? What do I represent? What is my story? Who am I? All of that actually creates an ecosystem that is sustainable, a product that people want to purchase, a community that people can get behind, right? And we're talking to Sanja, and Sanja has done some big things. Like, we're not talking about somebody who's working with local businesses. Sanja's client list, ONA's client list, includes Nike, Jordan Brand, Converse, US Soccer, Ulta Beauty, Oakley, Meta, the National Women's Soccer League. Like, we're talking about somebody who's working with big brands that have existing stories that they're already telling. How do you come in and change that story? How do you come in and enhance that story while still keeping the ethos of what they created originally? And we get into that. We talk about that. And not only she talked to people about, not only she talked to brands, she's also talked to people and created brand stories around major players like Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, J-Lo. In 2024, she was inducted into the American Advertising Federation's Hall of Achievement, and she's really had an extraordinary life. We're talking about somebody who came to America as a Bosnian refugee during the time of genocide in Bosnia. And so she's gone through a lot, and sports have been something that has really grounded her. We get into why sports is helpful, like the mindset that is created as an incredible sports player, which she grew up being, and how she's taken that to everything she's had while she worked at Nike, creating her own agency. And this is the story of someone who is going to tell you about like why you would need a marketing agency. What do they do? What do they work on? If you've ever wondered what that is, if you'll ever need one, how you could be your own marketing agency, because honestly, like, until you get to a point where you can afford these, huge retainers, maybe it's not yet the time for you to hire one, but what can you do in the meantime until you get there? She also has her own brand called South Central Wine, which she created with a friend. So we talk about the opposite side of things, right? Helping other people build their brand and their brand story, but also creating her own brand. And how do you sell it from, the ground up? So very exciting, very cool, very real conversation. And I'm excited for you to meet Sanja Komljenovic. And here we go. Sanja, welcome to It Takes a Village.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been also just thinking about, you have such an extensive experience and you're so young. You've done so much. Do you feel ever like your peers, like people who have done what you've done, are just like, I don't know, in their like 60s?
No, I actually feel like I'm always behind.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I'm looking at, I have a lot of really amazing people that surround me. And I feel like a lot of amazing people doing really big things. And I feel like I'm lucky to know them.
Yeah.
And because of that, not just because of that, but I think it's kind of like the underdog mentality that I've always had. I just always kind of feel like I'm catching up and I'm not quite there yet. And I'm figuring it out and I need to learn more. And like adapt. And what am I not getting or not seeing, you know? So even though I feel like you're right, I do have a decent amount of really great experience. And I think the agency really helped me accelerate that because I get to work on multiple clients at a time, get to think about multiple mindsets at a time, right? Like, and I'm not just talking to like a beauty consumer or a sports consumer, but I'm also talking to moms. I'm also talking to Black women. I'm talking to Latin people, right? Like, because of that, I have to take the time to get to know other like experiences, and that makes me feel like I know so much and have so much more to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. Okay, I want to talk about your background. You're Bosnian.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me about that. Tell me about growing up there.
So I was born in the 80s, and the war broke out in the late 80s, early 90s. So not sure how much you know or how much your listeners know, but it was like the first war in Europe after, essentially, I'm pretty sure after World War II, but I could be wrong about that. But it's pretty central. Bosnia and Croatia, the old Yugoslavia, Serbia is all pretty centrally located European countries. Essentially, one country, Yugoslavia, broke up into many different pieces. And there was a genocide of Muslim Bosnian people. And I am technically by birth half Muslim, half Catholic, even though neither of my parents is practicing. And so we were in the situation living in Bosnia where we were just not really safe, meaning that it was kind of a life or death situation. A lot of people, what they don't understand about war is that it's not necessarily like what you see on the ground with like soldiers fighting. It's a lot of it has to do with like mass fear and manipulation of the people that are like living there day to day. So like, you know, people are getting dragged out of their homes, taken to concentration camps, things like that. So my parents just made a decision to move to Croatia because my dad is Croatian and my mom's a Bosnian Muslim, like I said. And then from there, you know, work was hard to come by. He had a job. My mom couldn't work because of her ethnicity and background. Wow. So me, my brother, and my dad all got citizenships, but she couldn't because of, again, her ethnic background. So then we just applied for refugee status and interviewed with a handful of countries. And then not eventually, but almost right away, United States of America accepted us as refugees. And you kind of it's unlike having an interview where you can't just go, oh, let's go talk to Australia next and, you know, Germany or whatever. You kind of just got to be like, yes, we'll take it because it's getting out of your situation.
How old were you?
I was 10. I was 9 when I moved to Croatia, lived there for a year. I was 10 when I moved to America. And then we moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as refugees, lived on food stamps, low-income housing kind of thing, until my parents could get themselves on their feet on the ground.
So when you left Bosnia, did you have the rest of your extended family, like mom and dad, sisters and brothers and things like that? Or what was it like?
So for many people scattered, right? It just depended on your situation, your ethnicity, and where you were living. So again, if you are a Bosnian living in Bosnia at that time and it became Serb territory, you kind of had to get out or you had to risk your life. So some of my uncle and my aunt stayed. One of my aunts moved, so they were like, it's, again, really crazy thing that you don't think about, but like a Serb in Croatia and my aunt who was Croatian, they swapped houses so they could live in the other country, right? And so we went to see my aunt. And then at the same time, my mom's family flew to I think it was Denmark at the time, maybe Germany, I can't remember. And then my other cousins went to Germany. And it was just like everybody kind of scattered. Like all their friends, everybody. Like I think we were a country of 3 million people. And by the time the war was done, again, these numbers might be right. We were at 1.5, 2. Like, yeah. Entire like population completely either murdered or they had to move and leave and flee their home country to look for refuge somewhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you came to the States, do you remember how you felt, or do you remember like how were you feeling at that moment?
It was so hard because, you know, you go from being this kid who's playing outside, has a bunch of friends, knows everyone, to then moving to one country where I had one really good friend in Croatia that I made, to moving again where you're like the weird Bosnian girl. You feel kind of like othered in a lot of ways by other kids. Yeah. And some kids accept you and some kids make fun of you and you kind of have to grow a thick skin. But it's a lot for a kid. You know, it's a lot when you're like 10 years old trying to sort out, you know, how you fit in this new world where everything's strange and different and doesn't feel like home, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds just like really intense. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother.
Okay. And how much older?
He's 4 years older.
Okay. Did you feel like you were going through it at the same time? 4 years is a lot when you're younger.
So my brother, like we are a strangely very confident family. Okay. I think it's like the Balkan in us. Yeah. My brother was like owning his like.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. My brother was like.
He was like the man.
Yeah. He was like owning his uniqueness and his like. He was so, and you know, he never talked to me what he felt about it, and I'm sure he had feelings on it too, but he quickly made friends. He was quickly cool. He was playing sports. He was good at sports. My brother's incredibly intelligent, excelling at school. All the teachers loved him. So, I mean, look, I don't want to make it seem like people hated me or like I didn't have like friends. I did.
Right. But it was different.
But I just didn't notice how much he struggled, like, to me, right? I was, like, dealing with my own problems at the time. So I wasn't really probably paying attention to what, if anything, he was going through. Yeah. But, yeah, he, like, just became, you know, I became DK's little sister because they couldn't say his first name. So, like, you know, when I went to high school, I was DK's little sister, and he was like the cool kid, and I don't know. It's just different.
That's so funny. That kind of reminds me, I've been watching a lot of stuff with Michelle Obama, and she talks about how she was like always Craig's little sister.
Yeah.
And, like, and she's like, I like was not considered like cool. I was just like Craig's little sister.
Oh, how the times have changed.
I know, literally. And now, yeah, exactly. Now it's like, okay, now you're Mrs. Obama's brother. Yeah. But yeah, it's so cool. So that makes me think about you now I feel are so like effortless and like effervescent and very, you know.
I'm glad you feel that way.
I do feel that way. And so do you feel like there was do you feel that way or do you feel differently?
Well, I'll say this. I said like there's like this like confidence. I feel like I've always had self-assuredness. Okay. And a confidence.
Okay. That's a Balkan, you said.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of in my family.
Okay,
like
cool,
I think
that
there's a air of just feeling comfortable in my skin, and I do.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I don't feel awkward a lot of the time? No. Sometimes I get on calls with clients or whatever I'm doing, or like even not this is very comfortable, but just like sometimes I'm like, I can't think of what to say. But I'm really big on preparation.
Yeah.
And thinking through things. I mean, on the way up, you know, me and McKenna were going through your questions. Mm-hmm. Like that was important to me. Mm-hmm. I think effervescence, I don't know how you say it. I think that like ease comes with practice and time. And look, some people just got it. Yeah. Some of us got to work on it a little bit. Yeah. But I do think I generally have like a confidence that like is just maybe innate in me. Maybe it came through sport. Maybe it came through my family. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I've always just kind of been, you know, when I read Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, mm-hmm. I was like, I don't need to lean in. I need to lean back. Like I'm the girl that's always like, I got an answer for that. You know, so there is a little bit of that, but that doesn't mean I'm not a fumbling sometimes, and I just got to own it sometimes as well.
Okay, so sports. You played sports?
I play so many sports.
Okay, so tell me, what sports did you play?
So I'm going to begin this by saying I was never the best player at any sport.
Okay.
So
what kept you doing it?
I just love, I have so much energy even now. Like, I love sports. I love competing. I love the teamwork. I love connecting with other people through sports. I love the leadership of sports. I think for a long time, it was probably a way for me to connect with my dad. Like, my brother was really smart, really good at sports. And I think maybe I saw that as like, hey, like, this is a way to get attention from my family.
Like, me too.
Yeah, me too. Look at me. I can do everything he can,
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, again, how the times have changed. Yeah. But I think, I might have not been the best player, but I was always like pretty good. Like, I was okay. I was captain of a couple of teams. But I loved what I learned through sports. Like, we before we started talking about this, you talked about mindset. I feel like sports has taught me a lot about who I am. Like, what I bring to the table, what I'm willing to endure, how far I'm willing to push myself and my body to get what I want, how much I'm willing to practice, I think sports have taught me a lot about that, how to lead a team, so things like that. I just think those things are completely invaluable. And, talk about lessons learned. Every sport has taught me something different. I ran track. I ran distance. And my coach used to always say, I used to run like the mile and the 2 mile, and we would go for very long runs. And she would say, if you stop now, you'll always stop at this point. And then I remember sitting and, taking my exams at University of Florida, and I'd be like pulling an all-nighter, and I'd be like, if you stop now, you're going to always stop at this point. Keep going. It's just like those things, they just like stick with you.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Your inner monologue is very strong.
Yes, very.
Yeah.
It's like screaming at me.
Yeah. Is it ever, do you find that it's like, in addition to telling you like what to do you ever find that it's telling you like, great job?
That it could probably do a better job.
I ask because I find normally, like, as a high achieving person, I find that a lot of times there's that thing where it's like, I got to this thing, but then it's like, all right, what's the next thing?
That's how I am.
Right? It's like you're almost 90% of the way there. You're like, oh, it's going to get to the next 10. So you start making another goal.
But like, I had this conversation when I did my podcast with somebody, and we talked about this. It's like, it's about the journey, not about the destination. You got to love the process. You got to love the work that it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, let's say you're climbing Mount Everest. You only get to spend a couple minutes at the top, but you just spent all this time climbing Mount Everest. So for me, it's a lot about that. It's like, it's not that and I know this is hard. I've gotten this feedback from people who've observed me and my team, and they're like, Sanja, you never stop to like be like, great job. Like, you guys did this. And not that I don't say it, of course I say it, but I'm quickly to be like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
But truth be told, I'm like that about problems too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't dwell on like, oh my gosh, we lost this big client. I mean, I do for a second, but then I'm like, okay, what's next? Let's get this. Let's go problem solve. Let's get this next thing done. So I think it's like, I always say it's like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that mindset of like, it's the process that has to be worth it.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy the steps. You can't spend too much time on the like end thing, because the end thing isn't guaranteed.
It makes me think about friendship, and recently, I'm just going to interject my own personal story in this. Okay, so I feel like as a friend, something I notice about myself is that if people are talking to me about something that like they cannot figure out, or they come to me and they say, oh, I'm having this thing, I'm like, I don't even listen to myself complain. So it's very difficult for me to listen as a friend, like to someone say like, these things are wrong. Now, am I saying that it's wrong to come up with, oh, there's a problem here. No. But I'm like, let's find a solution.
That's how I am too.
And I'm so solution oriented. And sometimes I get told, I don't know if you've ever gotten this before. Sometimes I get told like by friends, they'll be like, Delina, I just want to just talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I feel like you called the wrong friend. And I wanted to know, like, do you ever experience that? Are you like that? Are you different at work than you are in your personal life? Like, because it's something that I've thought about a lot, because it's not something that I feel like hasn't been good for me in life. I think it actually has been great that I don't sit and go, oh man, like, woe is me, this thing happened. But, you know, I don't think I lack empathy, but I don't know.
No, I don't think you lack empathy. You just look at it differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I'd be a liar to say that I don't dwell on things from time to time, but I take my time with it and I go, okay, let's keep moving. Okay. And especially if I'm in a time crunch, like let's say I'm on set in a production and something goes wrong, I'm like, okay, how do we fix it? Let's make this happen. And then what I do want to do is dissect why it happened afterwards, which I think people have a hard time with, because they're like, why are you poking problems? Like, we figured it out. And I'm just like, but we need to understand why we got here, because I don't want to be here again. I want to figure out what happened in this in between. And even with your friends, like, I always want to figure out, whether it's with myself or my friend or my team, if you're having the same problem over and over again, what's the trigger for it? It's less about like, because I think people are going to have you ever noticed some of your friends always have the same problems?
Yes.
And it's like, okay, this is a pattern. You yourself need to do the work to figure out what this pattern is. Or if you want me to help, I'm here to help. But it really does get exhausting when you're getting that 6 call and they're like spinning.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to say this in the nicest way I can. This is kind of a waste of my time.
Yeah. That's how I feel too.
Because we've been here together.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to go and change, then there's nothing I can say to you. You want me to pacify you.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
I think that is also, if I'm honest, I think that's also an entrepreneurial mindset.
It is.
Right? Because I don't believe you can start a company and have a successful company, and because eventually it's going to work out anyway. The thing's going to work out, right? And then you're going to move on from it. You're going to figure out what it is. Like you said, I'd like to dissect it too. I'm with you on that. But I feel if you spend too much time in the, oh, this happened, then you're not creating. You're not being creative, I feel.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
You're not problem solving. You're not getting to the root of the issue.
Yeah.
Everything has a root, and sometimes those roots are painful for people, right? Like, you don't want to admit you're not good at something or that you haven't evolved past, a trauma or an issue. Nobody wants to admit that to themselves.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to say, I'm not good at this.
And you also want to be told like, oh yeah, you're a great friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I'm honest, like I don't know if that's an ego space that I'm speaking of that. It's like you want people to be like, oh yeah, no, she's there for me. Because I am, but I'm there in a different way. I'm there and like, hey, let's pick up the pieces. Let's do something about it. Well, like remember your power.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you, because I think I'm a little bit like this, are you the friend that people call when they want to get the straight, cold, hard truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm also the friend that they call if they're like, I know I want to make a move somewhere and I need to strategize, I'm going to call her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it honestly, like, this recently came up with me when my dog recently got really sick. And like last week. And was given like, they basically were like, hey, a third of the dogs just don't make it, just so you know. And I got on the phone with a really good friend of mine who I also work with. And she was like, and my mom said the same thing. Well, I hope this makes you realize what's important in life. And I'm just like, I'm the friend that if something's going wrong, I'm jumping on a flight with you. I'm the friend that shows up to every event, every wedding, whether I got a date or not. Mm-hmm. I'm the friend that's like always showing up for people. So what, I work hard a lot. Like,
yes.
Like, so to your point, it's like we show up for people when they need us the most, for good and for bad. And we show up in a real way. But like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to show up to cocktail hour or whatever little thing is going on. Or maybe I'm not going to call regularly. Like, that's maybe just not the kind of friend I am.
Yeah.
But I am the friend that shows up. And so like, I think that hurt my feelings a little bit, right? Because I was like, well, wait a second. So I don't know if you feel like that as well.
I definitely feel like that. I mean, you're speaking to my soul right now
Yeah.
because I genuinely do feel like that. And also, this is the thing. If you were there for all of those different things, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
It's like there's only but so much time in the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like you're moving and to the point of what you're doing, the work you're doing is moving forward women as a whole.
Yes.
Right? It's the whole, like all of us are grateful for you and the work that you're doing. So yes, I can be there to comfort you, but I can't necessarily do it in the way that maybe you desire or you really need. That might be somebody else.
Yeah.
And everyone's purpose, I feel, is different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like one person's purpose, like just because, you know, you do this thing and maybe you're very well known for having an agency, it doesn't make you any more popular or more amazing or more special to anybody than someone who decides to work at home.
I 1000% agree with that statement.
And so I feel like it's like we all have to be grateful for each other's positions.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
This is really helpful for me. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really big on people should figure out their relationship with each other, whether it's like a work relationship or a interpersonal relationship, right? Or a romantic relationship. And what I mean by that is like people need to be transparent about, and not to say that people can't work on themselves, right? So like, and change and become better in ways, but like, is what you're giving what I need and vice versa, right? Is this like a mutually beneficial relationship? Obviously, like for family, that's a little different. Like you were born with your family. So like, you know.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like friendships and when it comes to like teammates, employees, coworkers, and a business and a company, like I think I'm really big on like, is the thing that you're giving what we need?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Because sometimes like it's not. Sometimes there's might be a better fit for you. Maybe we're not it. And maybe I'm not the kind of friend that you need. And that's okay.
Right. I know. You know what? I will say that's very, very intelligent. I like that you said it like that because we're talking about friends, but I also feel this is applicable to business.
Yes.
Right? It's like there's very similar. I feel the way that I treat my friends. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit more, you know, closeness, but there's a lot of similarity. I feel in the way that I think that translate. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Yeah.
Like the mind, you kind of have. I don't want to say a fixed mindset because I do believe people can grow.
Yeah.
But you kind of have a way of thinking about things in the world, and it probably translates to a lot of things. It's not just that one thing, but like you gave the example of like, hey, you want to stay at home and work. Yeah. And if my business requires you to come be in person and work weekends and nights, well, this is just not a fit.
Correct.
And that's okay. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that I think people want things to be there that are not. Yeah. And yes, there has to be some flexibility because if you're an amazing talent and you want to work from home and I really want to have you, I will make that compromise,
right? Yeah. You're like, we'll make it work.
We'll make it work.
If we need to make it work. You're like, it's not ideal, but I mean, maybe.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
The relationship has to be mutual in some way. And if for you're like, I really love this job. I love this work. I want to do it. Yeah. But the pay isn't there. You might want to just decide to take the job. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And you have to decide if the pay or the experience is more important.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then you got to just make peace with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to relate this to ONA.
Mm-hmm.
ONA means her, right?
Mm-hmm. Bosnian, yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. Your desire to create that agency, I mean, because you worked with the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
You had all of this experience working in corporate.
Yeah.
You worked at Nike. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to start my own thing. What was happening in your mind there in terms of running teams? Because you already knew how to run teams, but you decided to start your own thing. Why?
You know, it's funny. I'm going through some stuff at work where it's like business is very difficult right now, right? And my photographer, who's one of our photographers, Antar, who's known me for a long time, and he's like, you didn't start ONA. And I never thought about it this way. You didn't start ONA for yourself. because you could do what you do, at any company. He's like, you started ONA because you wanted to give opportunities to other people and da-da-da-da. So you got to figure this out right now, which is so true, right?
Yeah.
I'll say that when I started, I had no idea what I was doing and why I was doing it. I was just doing it, right? I think, I hit my 30s while I was at Nike. I wasn't completely happy or in love with the job. So again, going back to everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
And I just decided to leave without a job. So I quit Nike, and then Nike hired me as consultant or project manager on a couple of different projects. And then one project led to two projects. And then I got this company called Stillhouse Whiskey, which they hired me. And then I had to hire some people to make that work.
So it just rolled into this company.
Rolled. And it took me a long time to take ownership of it and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what my purpose is.
Okay.
It just kind of happened over time. And over time, I realized I really liked it. I liked being on the agency side. I felt closer to the creative work, which was very important for me. I liked the fact that I had one client. When you're on a corporate side, you have to wear your politician hat and you have to do a little bit of politicking. It's not just about how good of a job you do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I liked the ownership of it. I liked working with creative people. I liked learning creative things better. I spoke earlier about I love learning about different kinds of people, working on different kinds of projects, different mindsets. Yeah. And so with all of that, it kind of formulated into, I'm going to call it ONA because I'm really passionate about women's rights. And not just women's rights, but the true feminism of anyone that's been left out of a conversation, anyone that's been made to feel like they can't be part of something. I want to give those people an opportunity, maybe in some small part, because I feel like my journey as a refugee and all the things that have happened to me, maybe there's a part of me that feels like I was given an opportunity, at life that I probably may not have been able to have should I have stayed in Bosnia, right? And I really think a lot about untapped potential in humans in general and how you can kind of unlock that in people through the work they do and whatever their special skill set is and whatever they bring to the table.
Yeah.
So I was really, over time, it clarified and solidified into this is what we're doing. It wasn't I have vision and I know exactly what I'm going to do.
That's really cool. I feel those are the best companies though. It's so purpose led.
Yeah, it's intentional. It's I think that there's a lot of companies that are built on marketing.
Yes, I agree, especially now.
Yeah, because it sounds good. But I think if you're going to do something day in and day out and dedicate your life to it, you have to really think about why it makes sense. And then you need to make decisions from that perspective and position.
Yeah.
For yourself and your company.
Yeah. I also think about lifestyle. I was doing some research and found that you moved from Portland to LA. You moved back from Portland because I know Nike headquarters in Portland.
Yeah.
And you moved back to LA because you were just I can't do this. I can't live here.
Yeah, I just didn't like it.
Yeah, and I get that because honestly, whenever I hear that people have to move to Portland, I'm like, what?
Why?
That's wild. But I think choosing yourself, I feel, will always be beneficial. Choosing what making sure that you're happy.
Yes.
Personally.
Yes.
Will always, I feel translate professionally.
Well, even beyond that, right? I use the analogy of, I love little analogies because I think it clarifies. But using an analogy of you're in an airplane and the two masks fall down, put your mask on first, then put the kid's mask on or whoever's next to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing is true here. If you as a founder are not good, or if you as the person is not good, it's going to really topple down into the rest of your work, people, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, similarly, with the company, an HR professional at Nike said to me, Nike's always going to do what's right for Nike. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I thought about it. I was like, but that makes sense. It's a self-preserving organism. your company's a self-preserving organism, so you have to do what's right for the company. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what's right for the bottom line. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's what's right for the greater whole of the company. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes you have to make decisions that are not beneficial to any one or two individuals, but might be beneficial to the whole company.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I mean, that definitely makes sense.
And sometimes that person's you. Sometimes that person that you have to make a decision about that's not beneficial is you.
Expand on that.
Well, so I'll give a very specific example right now of the things that I've been noodling on, and I don't know which way it's going to go, but I'm looking at profitability, and I'm just thinking, like, maybe this is the year that I just don't make any money personally. Like, maybe I figure out how to keep the team, and I'm not going to go into debt. Don't take a salary, don't take a profit. Because I'm a single owner.
Okay.
I take all profit at the end of the year.
Okay.
But maybe this year, and I don't know, I can't say that that's what I'm going to decide, but I've been thinking a lot about it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, maybe this is what's, and on a smaller way, it's like, I work every weekend all the time, and I do a lot of things that the team will never see, or the people around me, my clients will never see, the late nights, the weekends. Like, I think I worked every weekend almost my entire career. Wow. Almost, not every, but a lot. And, that's you taking a back seat to what you want while staying okay. Like, you can't do it. If you, like I said, if your gas is on empty, like, if you can't, you just do need to take a step back and take some time off. But I do think it's important to really consider, like, what is the best for the whole? Is it me working all night tonight? Yeah. Or is it maybe me taking the day off? Because if I take the day off now, I'll be better for next week when I know I need to stay up all night or do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. I think especially because I think what you're describing to me reminds me of a similar situation that I feel like I'm in, where it's like I feel I am personally quite burnt out. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, if I stop, it's like the engine can run, but it's not going to run with the oil in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not going to have that smoothness that I really need it to have. And I don't feel like that's a reflection on the people on the team. I think it's just people need guidance, and they need motivation, and they need, I think, also an example of what it is that,
I agree.
Right? That's what I've realized too in the past when I had hired people and I felt like things weren't going the right way. And I'm like, oh, because you're not being who you need to be.
Yeah.
Right? And so like they were literally mirroring me. Yeah. And when I started to realize, oh, okay, wait, if I show up this way, they will also show up this way. So I think there's a fear for me personally when it comes to kind of like leaving and being like, okay, I need a break, but then also I need a break.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Then it's like, okay, I need to take it, and sometimes it comes quite out of the blue because I'm just like, okay, it might need to be just today. I need to go today. Exactly. I cannot do today. Yeah. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I loved, I again, I don't know if it's the last podcast that you spoke about turning off your phone, taking the 3 days off.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I got to do that.
I'm going to send you the guide. I literally just created it. It's like a whole thing.
Love that.
It's so beneficial.
What it is like you sometimes just need to take a really far step away from your problems or tactical issues to be able to see the bigger picture. And it's very difficult to do that when you have things coming at you all the time.
Yeah.
And you're answering this question and you're showing up for that person and you're doing this and that and the other. Very difficult to do. But I think what I really loved about your 3-day reset is that it's like pretty much just enough time to clear the cobwebs and kind of start fresh. And to your point, sometimes you just need it.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, I wouldn't suggest doing it right before a big pitch, or if you're about to they're like, hey, we have this bomb guest that's going to change the trajectory of your podcast. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to get my stuff together and I'm going to show up. So obviously, you got to pick your timing.
Of course.
But
yeah, it's necessary.
It's from time to time, you just got to go.
Yeah. How big is ONA right now? How many people do you have working?
We're approximately like 25 to 30 people. We have freelancers that are like dip in and out, but they're full-time, meaning like they're freelance, but they're with us, you know, on a full-time basis.
Okay. Like contractors, essentially?
Yeah, contractors. Yeah. I do a lot of that to, one, test people out to see if they're like the right fit for us.
Okay.
I also, if we're not sure about business, just like not wanting to make a commitment to someone that then you break that trust if you're like, oh, I'm sorry, well, now I got to let you go. We don't have the business that we thought we were going to have. So because we work on a lot of projects, I tend to bring in like pretty predictable freelancers that will convert into full-time if it makes sense for the company. And then we flex up to 60 plus when we do a production, and those other people are mostly freelance talent, you know, photographers, DPs. We tend to work with a lot of the same people.
And I saw you just opened up a space, too. That's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting for us. It's down in Hawthorne, and it's just a beautiful, big, white, open space that has a huge psych wall in it, you know, a couple of dressing rooms. It's really meant to be kind of a canvas for whoever kind of comes in to produce what they need to produce, whether it's, you know, fully set designed or using the psych.
Yeah.
And it's also a place for the team to come together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it far from the office?
That is the office.
It is part of the office?
That is the office, yeah.
Oh, wow,
our,
that's
our
great.
studio's our office, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So we have like, for a long time, I was working up until last year. We had WeWork offices for a while. Mm-hmm. And then after COVID, we just all worked from home.
Yep.
You know, we have a lot of teammates that live in other countries and other cities around the U.S. Mm-hmm. But we have enough LA teammates that it makes sense to meet twice a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So people come in twice a week. Mm-hmm. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So then it's like, I think also I like the hybrid.
I do too. And, you know, but I've heard other business owners speak about this. You know, if you're expecting like junior level talents to level up, they need the in-office time.
I know. It's true.
Yeah. And they also need a level of discipline that they don't get from home.
Okay.
You know, like, I'm not saying that everybody has to come in exactly on time, but coming on time, staying till 6. Like, this is some things that like younger people have not learned.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to sound like an old head, but like having discipline is a really important skill set, you know, whether you're at ONA or somewhere else. And creative talent tends to kind of want to do what they want to do.
It's very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Especially, so I started my career as a makeup artist, and I had one, I still have one client that I work with actually occasionally, and he works on a show and he interviews like people in music. And musicians are notoriously late. Notoriously. Like, and by late, not even just kind of late. Like
hours.
Hours.
I know, because
like
I do productions.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you book the thing at 9, they might be there at 5 p.m.
Yeah. Yep.
You know? Like,
trust me.
You know? And so it's kind of wild to see that. And so I remember in the very beginning, because majority of my clients are all like EPs of their own stuff. So they're very on time.
Yeah.
So I remember being like, I will check you on camera.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to be here all
Here
day.
for 5 hours, 7 hours. Yeah.
Because it was just like, I'm like, this is unreasonable. But how do you structure? I'm curious from an agency perspective. Okay, you sometimes have these budgets that are like Nike and like, you know, Facebook and all these really big companies that come to you and they're like, hey, I would like to hire ONA to help create something. What about if somebody doesn't have that budget? What if they got like $500? What are they doing?
Well, I probably am not the person to help somebody who's got $500. However,
Okay.
I think finding really raw, young freelance talent is probably, if you can manage them yourself, is probably the way to go. Okay. That's what I would do if I didn't have budget. You know, I would go try to find the best for the least is the best way to put it, you know. And again, we work with overseas people all the time. I feel like that's kind of a bad word these days, but
no, man, it's good.
Yeah,
it's a global economy.
It is, and my designers are some of the best designers I've ever worked with, and they're out of Mexico, and they're great, and we compensate them fairly, reasonably, definitely more than they would make in Mexico at another agency.
That's great.
I think one of our designers is probably making double, triple what he would typically make, and so you know, trying to compensate them appropriately for where they're at, but also they are less expensive than most likely if I had to find that level of designer in the US, you know, and because, you know, I can't even say that I can sometimes find that level of designer. Like some of my designers are really good. They do a lot of different disciplines because like when you look at design, you have logo design, website design, you know, motion graphics. Like my designer can do all of that. There's not a lot of designers that can do all of that.
Yeah.
You know, or not that I come across. Usually they specialize in one or another.
One thing. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like look for talent. Behance is a great resource for design talent.
What titles are you looking for? Just so I can kind of understand, because I feel like the person probably listening to this is like, doesn't necessarily understand exactly how an agency can move a business forward.
Yeah.
So if you could break it down.
You know, I think it's almost, it's barely way more complicated than, you know, it's going to be easily explained because I had to live it for a while, even when I was at Nike, to really understand it. Because when I came from the Clippers, which was a much smaller organization, I didn't really quite understand brand marketing the level Nike does it. And so I think very first and foremost, if you're trying to build something of meaning, you need to have somebody who can strategize for you, who can be your brand strategist, who can, whether it's you, who can take a step back from your business, meaning like look at it outside in. Founders have a really hard time looking at their business outside in.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Very difficult to be like, oh, this is what my consumer needs, because you want everyone to know everything about your business. You just want yeah, we're this and we're that. But somebody who's looking at it from the outside can be like, this is what your consumers need that you offer. This is your particular skill set in a sea of sameness or people that are like you. This is how you differentiate yourself. Very difficult to do as a founder yourself. Possible though. You might have vision. You might just be able to see it. But I think that strategist is probably a fairly, unfortunately, expensive person that can really set your brand up, your company up for success in terms of like marketing, storytelling, positioning, and everything flows out of that. So, but you can find, again, a really smart person, smart individual contributor that can kind of look at it and be like, okay, I see what you need. And sometimes those people can come as hybrids, creative directors, brand strats, meaning like they can see the creative as well as know how to tell the story. Then I would say a click down from that is it kind of depends on what your needs are. Like some companies need a commercial. Some companies need a brand identity, like design, right? Some companies need a website made. Some companies need influencers. Some companies need social media strategy. So it just like really kind of depends like what your company needs as the click down. But let's say it's like, hey, I'm just trying to figure out what I stand for and how I appear to the world. You would probably go from like a brand strategy. Hopefully a brand strategy can do creative strategy to then like brief in design identity to a designer and then keep that person moving down a lane and giving them reference points, ideas, and direction. And then that brand strat creative person can also brief in, if they can't do it themselves, a copywriter. They can kind of come up with like brand taglines and like, what's your story? Like, how does it come to life in a way that's compelling and makes sense?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. So if you're doing something for like a new brand, I know you worked with Win, with Serena Williams' brand.
Yeah.
So if you come in, typically what stage do you like to come in to start working with a brand? Like, is it how many months before launch? Let's say it's like a new brand, completely new, hasn't hit the market yet.
If it's a completely new brand,
Yeah.
I would say minimum 6 months would be lovely.
Okay.
Minimum.
Okay.
But typically we get brought in like 3 months prior to launch, 2 to 3 months. And sometimes
Wow.
it's like, we got to launch next month. And you're like, I don't know how we're going to do all this in a month.
That's wild.
Because it takes quite a bit of research to come back with like an idea and a concept. And you kind of align with the team on the idea and the concept. And then you got to go produce it, which also takes a couple weeks to go produce it. But by the time you come up with an idea and a concept and do the research, that's 3 or 4 weeks, right? And then you got to align, meaning like the person on the other side has got to be like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And if they don't love, or if they like or want to kid apart and they say, I like this idea, but I want parts of that. And then you got to go back for another week or two and like rearrange it and go back. Because remember, we're not working on this 24/7. We're working on this like 5, 6, 10 hours a week.
Right.
Multiple people, 5, 6, 10 hours a week, right? Because we're working on other projects at the same time. And like these decks are like intense.
Like hundreds.
I mean, yeah, like sometimes like I just did something just for a pitch and I was writing it. It probably took 30, 40 hours of my time all in. And I had to do it in about 2 weeks, some weekends, nights, talking to people.
That's
it takes a long
intense.
time. Well, yeah, think about it. Like you got to read a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to talk to a lot of people. And then you got to get your thoughts together in a way that's like going to make sense to the person on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
It's like you got to synthesize yourself. You got to find a way to be concise.
What do you think it takes to be you? Because I feel friends of mine that I have that are like really good at marketing and strategy and like what you're doing. To me, I feel like you're born with it. You have this ability to be able to. I have a good friend of mine. Her name is Danielle. She's actually been on the podcast before. I think she was like episode 7. And the way she thinks is like she's constantly saying stuff where I'm like, how did you
come up with that?
Yeah. Is it like that? Is it like you have it or you don't?
I don't know. I don't know if you have it and you don't. I do think a lot of it can be taught.
Okay. Is it formulaic?
It's somewhat. It can be formulaic.
Okay.
It's an art and a science. It's both. It's not. It can be taught. I do think that the people who are the best have something a little special in terms of sometimes seeing what others don't. Right? Like really getting those deep insights, really understanding humans. I always talk about how empathy is important. And I think you can shortcut it if you have lived experience. So I tend to, let's say I'm working with like HBCUs, right? And I'm working with, we just did an Ulta Beauty HBCU thing. You know, I hired Black women to work on it. They went and they also found people who attended HBCUs to mine for insights and like get, you know what I mean? So
you didn't guess. You're like, oh, let's just find the people. Just do it.
Yeah. Like I can't tell you what the lived experience is. I didn't live it.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Same thing with like, we did a Latin heritage ad for Nike a couple years back. My crew on that was 80% Latin.
Nice.
You know, like I'm not going to go, I can set the vision. I can tell them what I want to see, how I want it to feel.
Yeah.
But I want that person to tell me like, no, this is what a traditional home might look like for a person like of this like specific Latin heritage. Because, you know, Latin people aren't a monolith. Not every home looks the same. So you can't just like make assumptions about things. And I wouldn't know that. How without deep research, without me sitting here and asking people and being like, is this correct? Is that correct? But somebody who's of the culture is going to know right away.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a way to like shortcut things through like lived experiences. And that's why you see people specialize. Hey, I'm very good at this. But I think to like run an agency and like be a really good strategist of all things, I would say empathy and knowing what you don't know. Like really being like, oh, I don't know that. I got to go find it.
Okay.
And like, oh, I really get people and I get what this group of people's going through. And that's how I can speak to them.
Yeah.
And then I think that there's disciplines too. Some people are better with words and some people are better with art and design and copy and design. Yeah. Like, you know, I can imagine pictures a lot easier than I can write words. But that's why I know to have a really strong copywriter, and I can tell her, I'm seeing this. This is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and then she's going to be able to put it.
She puts it together.
Words. That's very cool. So you're like the what do you call it? Conductor.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like the.
And there's a whole orchestra happening.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you're good at this. You do that. Hey, we have a gap here. Let's find somebody who knows this.
Yeah.
Like you started the podcast before we were talking about it. Like you're like, oh, sports.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know everything about sports. I don't know everything about every sport.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I definitely don't know everything about every athlete.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't know everything about every fan of every athlete. You know, it's just like, so I got to go find it.
Do you ever help, like, does anybody ever come to you and go like, okay, we have this athlete and like somebody I'm thinking about is like Alana Mar, right? Like the one who's like this rugby player. I feel like she was everywhere, especially during the pandemic. And and then they go, well, we want to make a brand or we want to make something with her. What do you think we should do? Do they come to you for that? Because I feel like you would be good at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily come to me like that.
Okay.
They'll say, we have this athlete and we want to make this brand. Let's say it's a makeup brand for Ilana, because she's like, Rock the Red Lip was like very much like showing up in a space in a way that people don't often expect women who are. By the way, I played rugby in college.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
that's
like,
very cool.
you know, you don't expect rugby women to be like feminine and like because that's how society told us that certain women in sports showed up, right? So, you know, they might come to us and say, we have this brand, we want to do a beauty brand, or like we want to do a water brand. I'm just picking something from the left. It's my job to find why that will appeal. Like, in what way can we position her for that to appeal to what consumer group sometimes?
Okay.
Like, they might say, hey, our target is this. We want to do this, da-da-da. Our KPIs are that, you know, brand awareness or sales or whatever it is. And sometimes they do come with this, but sometimes we turn around and we say, actually, you should position this person this way. And this is what's going to be the most appealing to her audience based on like, we might have taken a survey of her audience. We might have gone and talked to a bunch of people who know about her, and we've seen what really about her appeals to them. You know, I always tell people, don't guess.
Yeah.
Go ask. Figure it out.
Yeah.
So we might do that part. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
How that's different?
Yeah. And it makes me think also about influencers.
Yeah.
Because like, so, you know, I was a makeup artist for a long time, and then I kind of got into creating content for brands. And it's been so interesting because I feel like it can be really like, oh, man, the companies that I feel like have it right, and I'm going to shout out one company called Ulta Beauty, and they do such a great job because they literally go, hey, Delina, just talk about it the way you want to talk about it. Just do it that way. And like, you know, this is a product that we're promoting. Let us know if you like it. If you like it, let's do something. If you don't like it, we could do something on the next one, right?
Yeah, I love that.
So I love working with them, right? And like, but I find that a lot of companies don't know how to do it. They give you this crazy long brief that has like all these technical terms in it. And you're like, dude, my audience is gonna know I'm just reading something.
Yeah, that's all.
And so like, yeah, so how do you decide what influencers you want to work with, and like, who's creating those briefs?
that are awful.
That are awful.
Probably some creative producer or
man.
I saw you said Issa Rae on there, and she talked about being creative producer. It was probably some creative producer on the advertising side, or a copywriter, or an art director. It just depends on who kind of got their hands on it, or even a digital strategist. Here's the thing. Most brands, when they are coming to an influencer, they have identified somebody that they think is their audience is right for their brand.
Right. So
they're looking not just to you. That is a part of it too. It's their association with you.
Okay.
But there's also an association with like, what does your audience want? Like, who are they? And do they make sense for our brand? And that could be a psychographic or a demographic. It goes both ways. Like, it's not just about like, you know, 13-year-old girls. It could just be like women who are, again, I'm making this up because this has nothing to do with you, but like women who are coming out of depression, or women who are new moms going through postpartum depression. I'm really making this up because it has nothing to do with anything we're specifically talking about. But they really are looking for the people who are points of influence to their community.
Okay.
And so that's the first part. Like, when we pick someone, we're picking someone with intent of like looking at them and their audience. And then the brief, there are things that this company has found and decided are important to that audience. They think. They're like, oh, we think that they're going to care about all over coverage, or we think they're going to care about therapy, but from this perspective. So they just want to make sure that those talking points come out in what you're saying. But what they're not considering is what will not just appeal from a technical standpoint, but also from a like creative connection, emotional standpoint. And both of those things have to be considered, right? So I don't necessarily know that I would ever say like, hey, here's a product, and like do whatever you want with it. But I think I would say something like, hey, here's a product. Here's what we really want to come across. And we've seen this type of content really work well on your channels. Or like, we have this campaign going and we'd love for you to do something like this, but we want you to put it in your own words. Do you have any suggestions on how to do that?
Got it.
So then you get the mutual benefit of it, of like, the brand got out of like their message across of what they wanted to. Their point of differentiation in the marketplace based upon all the things that they saw, and they said, hey, this is what's going to appeal to people. And you made it your own. Like, I think that's important.
Okay. What is so that part, which part of that process are you owning?
So that from everything from the like very upfront process of like helping the brand decide what's important. And look, they don't always listen to us either. Like, we always say like emotional benefits over like technical products. Like Apple had that whole thing. It's like 1,000 songs in your pocket when they came out with the iPod. And that's like the best example of like, it's what it does for you. It's not that it's 5 gigabytes of data. Nobody cares about that.
Right.
And that doesn't mean anything to anyone. But like, 1,000 songs in your pocket, that actually means something to me, you know? So like often as agencies, we go in and we tell them what we think is going to be appealing to the consumer. And then there is a workshop back and forth. And sometimes very senior leadership gets involved and they're like, no, we needed to say this.
Okay.
And you just got to go, okay, we got you. And then we do build a brief. And the brief, the intent of the brief is not to like strong arm content creators. It's to help guide them.
Okay.
It's like, we don't want you to send us something back that we know the brand's not going to approve. So, because then that makes it harder for you. And then now you have to redo it. And like, that stinks for everybody. It's more like, let's make this easier on you to know exactly kind of what we're looking for. And then again, you make it your own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we're through the whole process usually.
Okay. So even choosing the influencer.
Oh yeah, all the time. Sometimes the brand does too, by the way. It's not always 100% us, but I would say 9 out of 10 times we choose the influencer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 times.
So engagement is important more than following. I just wanted to know the difference.
Way more important.
Okay.
And I say what I care about is how connected you are to your community.
Okay.
Like, do people look up to you? You know?
Yeah. Are you aspirational?
Yeah. But just even like, do people like feel like they're connected to you? We work with this like girl, her name's Mona Leo. She's a rapper quite often. Her community loves her.
Yeah.
Oh, you could see it in the comments. You could see it in the engagement.
I love that.
Yeah. It's just, they love her. And she's, in my opinion, an influential person to her community.
Yeah.
She's a rapper. She's amazing.
Yeah. South Central Wine.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about that because I think it's so cool that you started your own company.
Yes.
While running an agency.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going all right. It's going all right. The wine business is a hard business. I seem to want to pick really hard businesses to solve for. I think we built something really special from a storytelling perspective and like a community perspective and a connection. I think that just like with any business, it takes a lot of love, care, and, attention that us as founders have not had for it, which is unfortunate. So, I'm always naively looking at my to-do list for ONA and thinking, I'm going to get to the South Central Wine thing here and there, and I have so many good ideas, but sadly, like it's like one of those, like going back to that like mask thing, I have to take care of my primary business first because it's what fuels everything.
Yeah.
But I've happened to have found like an assistant who like loves it and wants to work on it. So she's been going out and promoting it and talking about it and
very cool.
Spending a lot of time on when like she doesn't have stuff for me. She's just like running around really thinking of ideas, and that's been really awesome.
So where can we get it, and what type of wine is it? Like, tell me a little bit more about it.
You can get it on southcentralwine.com.
Okay.
On there's a handful of like markets that it's in. Okay. There's a place in Silver Lake that I can't remember off the top of my head that has just reordered again. And then you can get it in several places like Hank's Mini Mart in South Central.
Okay.
And we have right now a rosé and a Pinot Noir.
Okay.
And each can tells a story.
Okay.
So the rosé can is all about the rose that grew from the concrete.
Nice.
So like South Central being kind of like this place that has had a negative connotation on it through like the media and the 90s and the gang violence and all these things, and wine being this like very white Eurocentric thing. It's like the combination of those two things that don't feel like they go together but do.
Yeah.
So the rosé wine has the word Nicolette on it, which is where one of our co-founders was born on. He's a doctor that was born in South Central, and like it's all about the rose that grew from the concrete that thrived when nobody ever thought it could even live. So it's about all the beauty and the culture and the everything we get from South Central. And then the other can we have is the redlining can, and it talks about like the redlining of Black and brown communities and like all the negative impact that has had on the community, but in like a beautiful, poetic way. So it really brings awareness through storytelling. And the hope is that like people bring a can or a case and are able to tell the story. And that's really like kind of how we hope to spread some good.
Yeah. Is that the exit strategy? To go into that?
Maybe. You mean from ONA?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't have an exit strategy. I get constantly challenged on this by my mentors.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. What's your end goal here?
Yeah.
I had to put on my phone, stop making new things because I have ideas. And I'm just like, I'm constantly just wanting to start new things and do them to the best of my ability. But sometimes there isn't enough time. So I think I got to strategize a little bit better.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think that's great. I think it means that you love what you're doing. When you'll know when there's supposed to be a change there.
Well, you know this, right? So like you're doing something, you're thinking you're getting ahead. You're like, oh, this is good. We're moving. And then you're back down and you got to figure out how to climb your way back up. And you're just like, I just thought we were getting to a place where I had peace.
Yeah, you're like, I thought I was about to take a vacation.
Yeah.
I thought I was about to take off for 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. This show is called It Takes a Village, and I'd like for you to highlight somebody personally and professionally that has impacted your life.
Ooh, this is different than the way you asked it on the thing. There's so many people.
We talked about a lot, though.
Yeah, there's so many people who have impacted my life. And I'm with questions like this, I want to be very intentional because I'm always like, am I going to leave somebody out? Okay. Someone who has personally and professionally impacted my life is going to be one of my co-founders that I just talked about, James Jenkins.
Okay.
And, he's a little bit older than me, I think maybe approximately 10 years. And we met probably around when I was 25 at a Los Angeles Clippers game. And, he has always been there for me with like really good, both personal and professional advice. So, when I quit Nike and I moved back to LA, he like let me live in his extra room.
Oh, that's nice.
And made sure I was all right. I had a stalker at one point and he was like, I'm going to take care of that, and just always showed up for me in ways that were meaningful. And so that's like on the personal side. And then on the professional side, like he's my number one go-to when I need business advice, when I don't know how to do something. If I'm like, oh man, I got this legal document, or I got this letter in the mail, or this is what's happening like with my team. He's probably the number one person I go to give me advice about how to handle it. And look, with anything, sometimes I take his advice, sometimes I don't, but I usually do. I find like he's the one person who kind of has this like sound, like feedback that kind of cuts through the BS pretty quickly. He's pretty straight shooter. And like I said, he's done a lot of things in his life. So you talked about like early on, like it feels like I should be like 60. Like he's like produced movies. He's a doctor. He's been my co-founder of South Central Wine. And, he sat on the board of this and a board of that. And like, I just find him always to be incredibly on point, like to the point, succinct, and
steady.
Yeah. Like a rock, you know? So he's definitely somebody that as I was thinking of it, because you gave me a second to think, his name just kept popping up. All these names, other kept naming, but just like his name kept popping up. And I'll tell you this is funny too. Anytime anything like happens in my life, my dad's like, "Have you called James?"
I love that.
He's like, "Have you called James?" And I was like,
so trusted by the family as well.
Yeah, very, very, very.
That's
like my
amazing.
parents like come in town. They bring him. My mom brings him wine. She's like, let's have James over for dinner. Let's make him dinner.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was such an amazing conversation. I learned so much, and thanks for going with me on the journey of talking about how you think, because I think that's different. I haven't heard that yet. I've heard more of what you do, but thank you for sharing with me how you think.
Oh, I really appreciate it. This was really amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I feel honored and thankful, and and you know, I'm just very thankful to be able to be in spaces like this. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and for being a part of my village. Please leave us a review, and I will see you in the next episode.